Okay, in today's video, we are going to see how to make shaker style doors for the cabinets and the drawer. So for the cabinet doors, all these sides are 2.5. Rails and stiles are 2.5, and the plywood is 1/4 inch plywood. The grooves and I used the groove and the tongue method to join this using a router, and same as for the drawers. The only difference in the drawer is the top and the bottom is 2 inch instead of 2.5 inch. The sides are still the same, 2.5, but the top and the bottom is 2 inch because mine is just 5/8 inch, I believe. Let me look into the measurements. So if I put 2.5, you can see I would have like half an inch or just 1 inch, which would not look nice. That's why I took half an inch from both the sides. Now it looks like a draw and it looks clean to me. So I did one of this to see what mistake I did. I will show you what mistake I did so you can avoid that in your project. The first step of measuring the door for a face frame, you need to know your overlay. The overlay is nothing but how much of your door is extended outside your door inner, mean the cabinet inner, from here to where your door sits. As you can see, I marked here, right? You can mark it like this and measure it from inner frame to that point to get your overlay. And your hardware should be purchased for the same overlay. You can see here my hardware is 1/3/8, my overlay is 1/3/8. This measurement plus 1/3/8 for both the side, and inner measurements and 1/3/8 and 1/3/8 up top and bottom extra. So you need to add 1/3/8 1/3/8 for the size, 1/3/8 1/3/8 for the top and the bottom, and you get the whole size. Or you can just take a pencil, mark it 1/3/8 on both the sides, and mark from the pencil mark to pencil mark and get the size. You can do both. Either you can mark and measure, or you can measure the inside and add. Okay, second point is to uh, draw a diagram and take your measurements, measure it, confirm it twice with the pencil mark what you did, whether your measurements is same. In my case, this is for the sink cabinet. You can see 34 is inner, and you can see 1/3/8 and 1/3/8 is my overlay, which is 2 3/4, which gives me 36 3/4, right? And the height is 21 1/8, and additionally with the 2 3/4 is 23 7/8. So I made the outer measurements, and even I measured it with a pencil mark and then confirmed whether it is same. So I did that. So my cutting measurement would be 23 7/8 with the 2.5, which is my styles, and my rails would be 14.1. There is a big calculation for it. Okay, for example, this is my tongue and groove. This is how my cabinets are going to join. So for my manual says this is half an inch depth, and this is a half an inch tongue, but it is not. So it is like 1 mm or 1.5 mm lesser than half an inch. So that's why I say you measure it and accommodate for it. So for me, if you see, instead of half an inch, that one was 3/4.1. So half an inch is 1 inch, right? But for me, both together is 3/4.1. So that's what I need to add to make this number. So 3/4.1. My actual rails are 13 1/4, 3/4.1, which will become 14.1. Add your tongue when you are cutting your rails. So my choice of wood is poplar. So I use 1/6/8 or 1/6/6. Mostly I don't buy 1/6/8 because I don't get a straight board, but in 1/6/6 I could find some straight boards, so I use 6 feet sometimes. But the thing here is, if you're doing 2.5 as your styles and rails, So if they say 6 inch, it is going to be actual size would be 5.5 inch, right? So 5.5 inch, half an inch for the waist, and actually you can make 5 inch, so 2.5, 2.5. With this one board I can get two pieces. So this is a poplar board. While taking the board, check for how straight it is. As you can see how I'm doing it, I check for how straight it is, and I take only if it is pretty straight, because this is already finished board. I'm not going to plan this, right? The way I do is I just add half an inch to the actual size, then make a rough cut, then I have a jig build for it to make the exact cut where I get a exact accurate 90-degree measurement. So let's go ahead and cut for the rails now. Okay, so here are my styles and these are my rails. So I did mark the cabinet number, cabinet. This is the same cabinet, 2A, 2B means this cabinet has two doors. So one piece gives me two pieces, right? So this one I'm going to split it into two. So this is for one door and that is for the another door. So the reason I mark and just put some pencil mark is always I wanted a side facing on the top. This is very important for the router. This is where the mistake number 2 comes. I didn't mark this, okay, and I started making the cut with my router, and I will show you what happened. This is 2.430 and this one is 2.615. Whatever you make, you cannot get this center in the router. If you get it, it is awesome, but it is very hard to get it. So this one, while looking, it looks like it is center and it is perfect, but if you measure, it has slight difference. So what happens when you don't make the mark and just cut it, you will not know which is front and back. So once you are done, this side looks flat, right? And if you turn it, and this has like dent, right? So you would have like smaller thing difference. So then the important tip is, as you know, always your marked piece should be facing on top. Some or not some, like me, earlier what I used to do is I make this cut like this, then I tilt it like this and make a cut. So this is one side and this is the other side. So if you do like that, once you go and fit it in your rails, sorry, this is the rails. When you go and fit it in your style, this gap would be different from this gap. So when you run this side, you turn this way and cut it here, so it is on the same direction, right? Probably I made that clear. That's why I made this mark. So always this face top, and I make the cut always this facing top. Okay, so the next step is to cut this to actual size. This is an unnecessary step if you have a miter saw which can uh, cut exact 90-degree. So mine is not actually giving me 90, so I'm using this step. This is a jig, uh, sliding jig build by me. So I'll cut the 90, I'll clean up one side and measure and cut the other side. So make sure when you are touching this or working with a router table, keep it disconnected. Do not put your hands here if it is not disconnected. Okay, so one more thing I made a mistake is, normally you see the bearing in the middle, right? Your piece should be flush with the bearing, right? So I use the scale and see whether it is flush. It is all flush, so when I run it, it touches the bearing and it touches both the side, right? So when I used my piece and went ahead and grow, when I go inside, I can see it was climbing on the bearing, which was the bearing was like a 0.1 mm higher, so it pushed it out. When I go outside, then it pushed it inside. So at the end, both the ends I had like a small um, extra groove, I would say. So that didn't look good, so make sure that doesn't happen in yours. Probably if you had used the router before, this is for new workers like me. So my preference here with the router, I start to make tongue first. So I think there are many different ways to do, but I prefer to do tongue for a specific reason, because I don't. I want to put the tongue to my rice before I cut it into two pieces, because it is easier to put tongue when the pieces are width. It has a width. If I cut it to 2.5, then I need a supporting piece like this. You can see this is a supporting piece like this to hold it. Even though I have a supporting piece, this would wiggle. So that's the reason I want to start with tongue. And the second thing is, while setting up your router, make sure everything is turned off, and you can take your jig or the test piece which you had earlier, then go ahead and see everything fits nice inside. Okay, so as I said, you can use your jig and test it, but don't trust it, right? Every time you put your jig and test it, and when you go ahead and make a cut, it will have some difference. It may have some difference. Confirm it after that, confirm it with making a actual cut with the sample piece, then measure it and see whether that is right. That is another tip there. Okay, so I have my piece over here, then I'm using this push block here. Okay, so this is I feel router is more dangerous than table saw, so I would be very careful with this. So I'm keeping this. Okay, let it stop. Take your piece. Okay, so this is the top side I cut. Always measure your top side. We'll make a fit, and you can see how perfectly flush it is, right? So perfectly flush. I can't even feel it is two different pieces. If you can see, whatever you do as the first cut, tongue or the groove, it doesn't matter if it is slightly different, because you can fix it when you do the next part. If you are doing the tongue, if it is like 1 mm bigger on one side, you can fix it when you make the groove. Okay, that said, let's go ahead and take our piece now. So these are the rails, right? You need a tongue over here, you need a tongue over here. This is actually two rails, 1 and 2 rails, right? So I'm making work easy by not splitting it into two and just making it as one pass. Clean all your, as you can see here, I have some. I'll clean up that. Whichever is facing the fence should be clean. Okay, there is my tongue. Still I have something to clean up, but you can see the tongue is there. Let's go and see whether it fits perfectly or not. Okay, it does fit perfectly. Okay, so to make the groove, first I take my rails before doing my styles, because my rails would already has a tongue, right? So when I go through it, I would know whether it disappears. When it if my tongue disappears to the depth of the groove, that means the setting of my groove bit is good. So as I showed in the test piece, so that's why I do my rails first before my styles. So again, the marked facing on the top. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, you can see it did leave a minute hair on the bottom side, same here. That is good when it does leave the same kind of material at the same side. So that is what the difference it is going to show. So now, for example, I'll show you, this is 2A, right? And this is also 2A. Both are the marked side. Let's see how flush it is. Perfect. I don't feel anything at all. You can see here. So this is our front facing right cabinet. So you can see I can slightly feel it, but not a lot. But I don't know whether you can see in the camera, it is so flush.